guys, and welcome back to another week of what I watched, and I'm getting it done this week. It's scorching in Ireland. For me it's scorching. It's like it was 28 degrees Celsius the other day, which is like, what's that, 83 or something Fahrenheit. People I know are talking about temperatures of like 90 something and 100 and something in America, and I'm like, melting. But let's get back to what I watched the last week. It's not that much this week. I will say, coming up like the rest of the summer holidays, my son is off school. I'm not getting that much time to do videos or editing or even watch stuff, so if I'm not about for a bit over the next couple of months, that is why. So let's just get kicked off with what I watched last week. Get the old screen recorder on, and I think the last thing we spoke about Fear Street 1978. I spoke about A Wilderness of Error, which is a documentary I'd watched one episode of and wasn't that impressed. I watched the rest, still give it a 2.5 there. I still wasn't particularly impressed. So this re-examines the evidence in the case against Jeffrey MacDonald, who was convicted in 1979 of murdering his pregnant wife and 2 daughters. He said that... Sorry, there's going to be birds outside. He said that very akin to like Manson and the whole hippie thing and the Sharon Tate murder. He said someone broke into the house and murdered his wife and kids, but obviously nothing was taken. There was no sign of a break-in. A lot of people raised an eyebrow and said, no, that hasn't happened. I should move over here, shouldn't I, to make sure that you can see my thing down the side. So unless you're massively into true crime, I wouldn't really recommend A Wilderness of Error to you. It's on Prime, Amazon Prime, if you want to see it, however. Where are we? So on the same evening, I finished it on that day, so on the same evening that I finished it, I watched The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. Now, I do enjoy Ryan Reynolds in comedy. I think he's fantastic. As Deadpool, my favourite superhero ever. I did really enjoy The Hitman's Bodyguard. I did enjoy this. Samuel L. Jackson was just wonderful. I mean, I wonder when he reads scripts and the mofo word comes up, I'm not going to say it, I just go, oh, they've got me saying it again. And Antonio Banderas, really creepy in this. We have Samuel Jackson in this, fantastic character, really surprised at his character. This isn't getting that good of write-ups. I will say it's entertaining, it's an easy watch, it's nothing new, it's just a very straightforward action comedy movie, which I enjoyed. There was a few little giggles in there. I won't say it's not as good as The Hitman's Bodyguard, but it's worth a watch if you want something easy, and sometimes we just want something easy, so that's sort of like neither here nor there. Not awful, not fantastic, but easy to watch. Next on the list is a classic horror story. Let me try and remember this one. Right, yes. This, I'm a bit torn on this. I think this was Italian. I'm looking at the names, yeah, I'm sure that's Italian. This is a movie where we have 5 young people in a, like, is it a camper van or something? Motorhome. Night falls. To avoid a dead animal carcass, they crash into a tree. When they come to their senses, they find themselves in the middle of nowhere. The road they were travelling on has disappeared, and there's only a dense, impenetrable forest and wooden house in the middle of a clearing, which they discover is the home of a spine-chilling cult. Now, as I read that, I think, ooh, and as I think back to aspects of the movie, I think, ooh, I need to watch this again. Let's see, you can say I give that a 3 out of 5. I did enjoy it, but I was terribly distracted while I was watching this. I was doing something else. I can't remember what it is now. It was something on the computer. So I was sort of half watching, and obviously it's subtitled. I can speak French and Spanish to a degree, and if you do, you know that Italian has a lot in common with those languages, so you can pick up bits and bobs of the dialogue, but I'm looking up for bits I don't know, and I think you need to give this one your full attention. This has a kind of found footage element to it. One of the young lads is making a film, he's filming his friends, but that develops into something entirely different later in the movie, which I won't go into. As I say, I think this is better than I've rated it. I've rated it 3 out of 5, but possibly this is better than a 3 out of 5. I do need to rewatch it to be completely fair. I'm looking at the ratings there. People have given it 3.5. There's a 1.5. Austin Burke, who's usually pretty spot on, is at 3.5. Oh, Spooky Astronauts, Emma, I love her channel. She's given it a 3.5, so I think I need to watch this again and maybe get another half mark out of me. But yes, I would recommend that if you don't mind subtitles movies. I think it is something that tiny little bit different. I just need to watch it to give full attention, because I find myself a couple of times looking up and saying to my husband, why are they there? How's that happened? What's going on there? What did he just say to her? And I think I missed elements, so just to be fair, I think I'll watch it again. On the same evening in bed, I watched Horizon Line. Now, this should be just the scariest horror movie in the world to me. This is about a couple that go up in a plane, like privately, you know, like one of those little, does it say on here? Just a small plane, one of those little ones that you privately charter. The girl knows, well, they both know the pilot, and they need a lift to a wedding. They've missed a boat and they're on this island. They need to get in this plane. The guy gives them a lift in the plane, and the guy flying the plane takes a heart attack. Now, that may sound like a spoiler. It isn't. It says here, fly or die. A couple flying on a small plane to attend a tropical island wedding must fight for their lives after their pilot suffers a heart attack. And this is exactly what it is. The girl has taken a few flying lessons from the guy that's given them the, can you say lift if it's an airplane? You know what I mean? But she knows bits and bobs, but not too much, and they're trying to keep this plane in the air. They don't know where they are. Something happens to the plane, that certain instruments are destroyed that they will need to find out where they are. No radio contact, things like that. So it's a bit of a disaster movie. I'm terrified of flying. I hate it. I'm just not good. And my only one long flight in my life was to Florida, which I think is about 9 hours. And on the way back, the turbulence was so bad, the cabin crew wouldn't get out of their seats. They were strapped in. My son was beside me. He was eight at the time, something like that. I think he was 8. He was vomiting all over the place. No sick bags. He had one, and I think I had one, and then the other 2 seats in the row didn't have any. So we filled the sick bags. Nobody would get up. We couldn't get a drink of water. We couldn't go to the bathroom. Oh, and I don't like flying, and that did not help things a whole lot. So if you like that sort of thing, I'd say, yeah, give it a go. But suspension of belief is a necessity, because if you watch this, you will actually laugh at numerous occasions at things they do. And it's like, what? Really? If that had happened in real life, this would have happened. You just have to not think about practicality when you watch this, because it doesn't tick any of those boxes. So yeah, I gave it a 1.5. It just was laughable in places. The acting performances were fine. Cinematography was fine. Maybe that's cruel. I just found myself laughing at a movie that should have scared the pants out of me. I'm going to change that, because I think that's unfair. I will give it a 2. But suspension of belief is paramount. To me, they could have made a much better movie if they'd not tried to have so much like dramatic stuff happen and just stuck realistic with it, which has happened in other movies and they've been brilliant. Next evening I watched Werewolves Within, which is a comedy horror movie. Another one that I think I need to give another watch to, because I did get the mood of this was really funny. My sort of humour really sort of a bit odd. When a proposed pipeline creates hostilities between residents of a small town, a newly arrived forest ranger must keep the peace after a snowstorm confines townspeople to an old lodge. So basically there's a werewolf killing people, and these people have to try and figure out who it is. It's a bit of a black comedy in there too. Acting performance, I love the guy it must be Sam Richardson, who plays Finn Wheeler. Yeah, I loved him. I thought he was fantastic in this. Really, really funny. 3 out of 5, did enjoy it, would recommend, probably will watch it again myself. Next evening I watched, this is a 3-part drama on BBC iPlayer at the moment, with the ever famous Sean Bean from Yorkshire. That's awful. Hey up me duck. No, that's Midlands. My husband's from Yorkshire, and it's like for goodbye he goes see thee. That means see you. I will be see thee. Hey up means hello. Chuck. Darren calls me Chuck. I don't get my name, I get Chuck. So Sean Bean of Yorkshire Tea is in this as a guy that has committed a crime. He is his teacher. He is a really decent bloke, but he has a problem with alcohol. He has driven a car home from I think a conference, over the limit, and he hits someone and he kills them. It doesn't show this. It does sort of flash back to it at a later date, but we start with him going to prison in a car, in the like van. And this is, as it's called, Time. It's about this guy's time in prison. He gets 4 years for his offence, and it's eye-opening. So this is probably one of the most honest depictions of prison life that I've seen. I think if you watch Orange is the New Black, which I do and I love, I think it can be glamorised quite a bit. There are bits and pieces in there that are a bit shocking, but you've got that marvellous camaraderie and friendship that you see. In this, it's terrifying. This guy is a normal guy. He's not a criminal. The prison's just a never-ending cycle of people coming in over and over again, hardened people, people that will pick on you just because they can. He's getting his food stolen every day. People are getting kettles of boiling water with sugar in thrown over them. They're throwing like petrol over people's, not petrol, what was it? Some type of flammable liquid that I can't remember, terps, and threatening to set fire to their feet. It's hideous. So we follow his story in this prison, and also a prison officer. He has a story arc going on here as well. His son is serving time in a different prison. Obviously, you're a prison officer and your son is in a prison and people get wind of that. They're going to use that to their advantage. Really well acted, really bleak, really accurate portrayal of prison life, and this should be shown to kids in secondary schools. This would scare the life out of you. This shows you what it's like to go to prison and how terrifying it was for Sean Bean's character as just this middle-aged man, teacher, who made a really bad choice and paid for it a really high price. Terrifying, really well acted. I would thoroughly recommend it. It's 4 out of 5. I don't know if you can watch BBC iPlayer outside of the UK. I'm not entirely sure, but that's where you can find it, and it's well worth a watch, guys. Sean Bean is a very much beloved actor in the UK. He's from Yorkshire. Everyone from Yorkshire loves Sean Bean. And almost everything he's in, he dies. I'm not going to give a spoiler if that happens in this or not. He was in Game of Thrones as Ned Stark. I don't want to say what happened to him if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, but that'll give you an idea. But yeah, if you can watch Time, check it out. It's really, really good. On the same evening, I love these movies. Fear Street 1666. I watched the 94, 78. This is the third of a trilogy. I'm not going to talk for ages. I really enjoyed it as I did with the previous two. I thought it was really fun. You didn't have to think too much. It harkened back to when I was a kid going to the like movie store on a Saturday night with my dad. This was pre-Blockbuster, folks. This was a little independent, grotty video store, and we would go every Saturday evening and pick a movie. Dad loved horror, which is why I have such a love of horror today. I grew up on it. This took me back to that sort of time. It had that feel to it. Now, a lot of people said this 1666 episode or movie had a feeling of The Witch about it, or Darren mentioned the Witchfinder General when we were watching it. It's just very much, you know, the whole witch trial type of thing, but it's not as heavy as that. That sounds ridiculous. I did enjoy this. I would thoroughly recommend it. The movies basically follow, I don't think I need to tell anyone, people being possessed by the spirit of a witch. This goes back to the origins of what happened and who she was and how it happened. I preferred, my favourite of the three was the middle one, 78, I think for nostalgia reasons, because it took me back to the whole slasher sort of like movies I grew up on. I did really enjoy this too. I think my order would be 78, 66, 1666, followed by the first one, 1994, would be the bottom. But I enjoyed all three, and I would thoroughly recommend, if you haven't seen them, to check out that trilogy. They're a lot of fun. I gave that a 3 out of 5. And finally, last night I watched, following a review from Aaron at Screen Stars, Let Us In. This is based around I think it's an urban legend. It started maybe as a creepypasta, the black-eyed children. So this is about children who apparently show up with completely jet black eyes. There's no white, and really pale skin, dressed in black, and they just keep asking people to let them in. Will you let us in? So this says, a 12-year-old girl is ostracised in her small town for something she never did. When there's a rash of missing teenagers, she, along with her 9-year-old best friend, step in to figure out what's going on, based on the urban legend Black-Eyed Children. what did I give this? I gave this a 2.5. Right, I enjoyed this for what it was. I thought the actual people playing the black-eyed children, there was nothing remotely scary about them. It's just these teenagers with pale faces and hoods saying, "Let us in. Are you going to let us in? Will you let us in?" all the way through. And that's pretty much what they do. This is like a movie version of Scooby-Doo. That's the only way I can describe it. I think this is maybe aimed at like a tween audience. Isaac would probably have enjoyed this. It's not scary enough to me to be an adult movie. The performances were all fine. The acting was a bit dodgy of the youngest kid in it that plays the 9-year-old, but there's just bits and pieces here where you could tell they were acting, and I think when you can tell it's quite distracting. But overall, I would say it's okay. It passes a couple of hours or an hour and a half, however long it was. The main actress in it was really good, Mackenzie Moss. Tobin Bell is in this, which is another thing that attracted me to it. Obviously, as a massive Saw fan, but he's in it as the sort of like stereotypical creepy guy, and we don't go near his house and we dare each other to go and ring his bell. He's not in it for very long. He's in it for a short period of time. He gives advice to the young girl in the movie as he maybe encountered a similar issue many years prior. So I will say it's quite childish in its approach, and it did remind me of Scooby-Doo. But if you can tolerate that, if you've got kids in their sort of early teens, I think they may enjoy this. I can't remember anything inappropriate in there. 2.5 out of 5 from me. I'm trying to get this fitted in before my son comes back from his, he has a summer scheme thing this week. 2 hours a day, 2 hours to try and get everything you need to get done in before it's like, "Mom, can I? Will you? Can we?" Oh, parenting. Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. I will be back next week with another What I Watched. What I'm watching probably won't be as much as it has been. As I say, I'm busy at home with my son doing stuff, trying to prepare him for the upcoming transfer test when he goes back to school. Stress, 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 folks. Thanks for watching.